Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Music and Moonsaults. I'm your host, Chris Bourdine, and joining me today, coming off, he's on like day 5 of a victory lap of the impending arrival of one Buddy Matthews in the All Elite Wrestling. He's the kingpin of LateNightGrin.com, Mr. Joe Hulbert.
That may get you some heat with the other members of the team, but I'm going to rock with it. I think that's a good thing. There you go. I may add that to my bio quietly and see who notices.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
There you go. I like that. It's very good. It's a pleasure to be here.
I mean, you're the one who's on like 90% of the shows. So I mean,
there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. You're making an argument for me too. I will say, and it's worth mentioning. The last time I was on this platform, I was robbed in a draft.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And I mean, love to my guy Jeremy, but that was disgraceful.
It was.
We did not take it to court or anything. I'll lose with grace, but I must say, Chris, I think you would agree that was filth.
Yeah. It was a little dicey. I think he's just it's one of those things where like he's like drilled it in everyone's minds that he's the draft king, and so everyone just kind of they didn't even. I don't think they even looked. I think there's a draft poll and Jeremy's on it. I'm going to vote for Jeremy. I think.
If they watched, they would have known better than to vote for Jeremy Lambert on that one, wouldn't they? Even he was surprised.
Yeah. That one was quite a mess, though. I was all over the place.
It was difficult, but I kind of love that about it. It's fun. That challenge is part of the fun to me.
Yes.
Yeah, it's always a great concept. So it was fun.
So Joe thinks he's here to watch a Luke Harper Randy Orton match from 2017, but really I'm here to grill him on why he hates my guy Adam Cole so much.
When you mentioned, remember the day after like the infamous Dynamite review where I did the like 10-minute meltdown about it, and you replied to my tweet with something like, I guess I shouldn't listen to this review show. Ever since then, whenever I do it, and like a lot of it's playful, but anytime I do it, I imagine you listening being like, God damn, man, let my guy live. It's only encouraged me, unfortunately, but it's all fun and games.
I certainly get where you're coming from, but it's my guy, so it's like, come on, man.
Well, it works, man. Like it's like when I'm talking about Joe and everyone in the chat's like, he sucked for 10 years. Like, do I care? It's my guy. That's part of the fun of this. Is like the idea that you can just be a fan of certain guys. And Cole's, he seems like a class act podcast. He's a good one to be a fan of. It's just, it's part of the show now, right? It is what it is. People expect it.
So what if his hand's orange?
Bro, that was a little crazy. Not gonna lie. People in the chat were questioning me for spotting it, and I was like, "You need to get better eyes, man. That shit was crazy."
Yeah, even I noticed it. I'm like, "Wow, that's really orange." So, but no, seriously, I sent much like when I talking with Joel Pearl on the album episode. I'm trying to get more organized this year. When instead of like last minute, hey, let's watch this match or let's talk about this album. So the spreadsheets have become my friend, and I made sure I got February done, and I sent it off to Joe because I wanted Joe. It's been a while since you've been on, just to talk about that hasn't been a draft or whatever. And I thought for sure, I'm like, knowing Joe, we're gonna watch. I mean, Super Brawl 2. I mean that shows there was like 5 matches from that show alone that was on there, and you surprisingly picked this Luke Harper Randy Orton match from Elimination Chamber 2017.
I did. It's and people will know this to watch my content. So I'm sure once you thought about it, you was like, that makes some sense. Mm-hmm. I fondly remember this time of SmackDown. And I'm not gonna lie, Chris, I was very tempted by many Super Brawl options. But I thought I would zig rather than zag.
There you go.
And this is a match I haven't seen in a while too, which is a benefit. But like, it's one that I think is interesting because more than it being just a damn good match with 2 great pros, it is very much a moment in time, right? And kind of a sad one in some ways, but it's an interesting match, interesting window of SmackDown's history. So I thought it was a nice pick.
Yeah, I have some thoughts, and I'll get into it as we watch this match.
Right.
Joe is in the UK, therefore he has the benefit of using the award-winning WWE Network. What is your time cue for the people who are not using the Peacock?
Yes. Well, firstly, congratulations to those people. We have a great time here. It is 1 hour, 19 minutes, and 27 seconds here on the WWE Network. So
Okay. And here in the lowly United States, if you're on the Peacock, I'm at 1:23:26.
And there you go. Okay, this should be fun.
Yeah.
Should be a blast. Okay.
So I'm gonna count us down. 3, 2, 1, play. And when I say play, we'll hit play, and we'll see how this goes.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, play.
Now, I remember this show, we were talking about it a little bit when we were trying to find out where we were at on this thing, right?
Yes.
And it dawned on me during that conversation, this was the show where they had the 3 women's matches, which at the time was a real triumph for a brand to have 3 women's matches, singularly. So I remember that came back to me there as we were talking about. Also, Chris, you may know this better than I, but I think, was this the chamber where they debuted the new structure? It's around there, right?
It's if it's not this year, it's the year before. I want to say it might have been the year before. Whatever year they did the tag team.
Yes.
The tag team one, I think, was the first year. I remember the new one. I could be wrong on that though too.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm very bad with that stuff. I'm very, very bad with it. But
as we see the Viper Randy Orton making his way to the ring.
Indeed. One of the most divisive wrestlers probably ever, right?
I'm divisive on him myself.
Yeah.
I go through stretches. He's so. I go through streaks with him where it's like, man, Randy's so good. And then they'll come to a point where I'll be like, I'm so bored of Randy Orton.
Yeah. It's fascinating. It really is. I'm the same as you. Like right now, I'm kind of like whatever, but there was a time there. I remember the summer of 2020, around that time, I was like, wow, Randy's the best guy in the industry.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's a very interesting guy.
Yes. And he's coming off winning the Royal Rumble the month before, which was, I remember at the time, was quite controversial. As they seem to be lately, as of late.
I was going to say, I think people liked that Rumble match, right? I think was the case.
I think it was a pretty good one.
The years before that, obviously, 2016, 2015 were not so popular.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I mean, coming off of those, then it was definitely an upgrade. But I just remember that because that was the year it was in San Antonio, and they had for the bigger fellas, they had the golf carts.
Oh yes. That's always. I mean, that to me that adds half a star.
And they tried to shoot around it. Like they tried to because they only came,
of course,
rode them down so far, and then they got off, and then walked the rest of the way. And they tried to not cut to them until they got off the golf carts. But a couple times they didn't.
Incredible.
Didn't quite pull it off, and now Luke Harper's in the ring, and this was a good story. That they just ended up whiffing on the ending. This is Randy's kind of in the Wyatt family at this point. I don't think they've won the tag team titles yet at this point, right? That comes after this.
I think they won. I think they have, because I remember they dropped them on the wild card episode, which was like Christmas time. Do you remember they did the thing? They called it wild card, and that just meant there was title matches, and they never explained which the wild card part was.
Go figure.
I think so, because I believe, this is the last stop before Mania, right? And the read was right. So the read was that Randy's the tweener, Bray is the heel, and Harper would be the babyface.
Yeah.
After this, they seem to change the story altogether, right? Like it becomes a whole different thing.
It's so weird. Like I thought for sure, because there's the infamous angle where, as both men are kind of just feeling each other out right now. There's the infamous angle where Randy burns down the compound, right? And I remember watching that. I'm like, well, Randy's clearly the heel. Like he just burned his house down.
Yeah, fair. Okay.
And then it was just like, well, no, he's the babyface. I'm like, how?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
He infiltrated this man's family, burns his house down, breaks up his family, and later this night, Bray's gonna win his first world title, and then he's gonna beat him. with
it's
worm
strange.
worm projections and all. Like,
Well, this is when it goes off. I mean, I don't think it's just that program. I think SmackDown as a brand kind of loses its way here.
And this is what I was talking about. This is what I think the whole company kind of takes, like, because you got this storyline that they whiff on, and then over on Raw, you're coming off in Survivor Series they had that awesome Lesnar Goldberg match, and they're like, oh well, we need to run this back, and you know what we really need to run this back with? The Universal title. So they at Fastlane, I believe it is, I think in March, in the lead up to the Raw last stop before WrestleMania.
Yeah.
You got Goldberg squashing Kevin Owens in like 30 seconds, and taking, the word was that the Owens Jericho match at WrestleMania was supposed to be for the Universal title.
Mm-hmm.
And then
and that became for the US, right? And they switched. Yeah.
But Vince decided, nope, Goldberg Lesnar needs the Universal title. And it's like,
who would have thought it, huh? Brock Lesnar match getting a belt it doesn't need. A distant memory indeed, Chris, huh?
At least it's just one, right?
The thing that is really striking about this matchup, and Luke just took that big bump, is like, you think of Brody Lee, Luke Harper as a big guy, and you look at him next to Randy, it's like, Randy is huge, isn't he?
He's
like,
tall.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And he has this incredible frame. So he's not even like he looks kind of outsized. He's so smooth, you don't notice it until he's opposite a big guy. It's an interesting part of his career.
Right. Well, it's because he's so slender, too.
Yes.
Like, he's not like a guy like another guy who is like sneaky big is like Billy Gunn is the name that like everyone talks about how big, Billy Gunn's like Hogan size. And it's like, you really don't think about it that way, but then you're like, I guess he is. Yes.
You see him now and it's very clear, right? But back then it wasn't. It's just this like, he's wrestling guys on TV now and he's wrestling like the Big Show.
What later would be dubbed the Sing Bomb, but he really is doing that to Harper on the announce table on the outside here.
Yeah, that sell was so awesome, by the way. That was such an awesome sell. Like, there was an art form to the way that he portrayed all of the whole performance. But the Luke Harper, when he was this character, the wide eyes and the way that he would like stumble into stuff, there was a real craft to the way he did that. A real kind of wildness to it that I think is a little bit of lost art.
Yes. What an announce crew. Holy crap.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it was a different time.
Why is there 4 men in the booth? I don't remember that.
I think this is when they were like messing with Moro a little bit on his, I don't know.
Yeah. Could be.
Moro, like, people forget that he was actually on the main roster because he was in NXT so long. But like this time, that was one of the big stories, right? The JBL, Moro, that whole thing.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I remember that.
Yeah, it's a shame how things worked out. I know people got really frustrated with Moro, but I still think there's a place for him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a shame that it just didn't appear to be possible it would be on the main roster, right? They didn't see how it was ever going to work, unfortunately.
No. And we get the Orton Rust hold here.
Yes. Production team took a wide shot, which was incredible. Knowing who the talent is, that was incredible. See, the thing is, like, I roll my eyes like everyone else does when he does this, but what's incredible about Randy is he's the guy that will wait until the people come. Like, he's not going to rush, right? Like, he's like, when they start clapping and stomping, I'll get up. Until then, I'm going to make them earn this thing. Like,
yep.
And this goes back to the conversation we're having. He's the heel in this match, right? He's the one getting the heat here and slowing things down.
Yeah.
Man.
Just stomach first on the top rope.
A big guy like that, that's kind of something that made him such a special wrestler too, was that as a big guy, he could take those big bumps, right? And he could be vulnerable in a way that the Bruiser Brody archetype didn't usually allow. An interesting kind of wrinkle to his in-ring, definitely.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, he's basically working as like an underneath babyface here, right? He's he's just selling and Randy's getting the heat. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you're right about how, it's kind of like Randy's the tweener and
right.
Harper's the babyface, he was like trying to tell Bray that Randy is bad news and shouldn't trust him, and Randy's like, oh no. I'm a Viper. You can trust me.
Yeah, it feels like that was after he burns down the like, it feels like that point you reintroduce Harper, right? And it's they never did that part of it.
No.
It's weird.
I mean,
it's strange.
But it is. But it's one of those things where given how that match played out anyway, like, would Harper in that match really make that much of a difference?
Right. It's just, I guess it's one of those deals where you realize how bad they can misread certain situations, right? And it's like, that match could have been a 12-minute triple threat match that had a whole lot of cool sequences, and instead it was what it was. And it's just interesting. I always loved Harper's, he throws those cane uppercuts, right? Those sort of open-handed deals. Always loved those.
Yes.
Always loved those. Here we go, going into comeback here. Randy's a guy too, like, you see it there in some of the hesitation. He'll make a guy wait on the comeback. Like, I'm going to sell this thing, man. I'm going to just feed you. Harper had to wait a second there on each one.
Yeah. Harper with that Eddie Guerrero over the top. He's so agile for a guy his size.
It's crazy.
And that massive big boot.
And he always did the cool deal where he drops to a knee on that, right? Do you know anyone else that does it like that? That feels like a Luke Harper, Brody Lee thing.
Yeah, no, I can't. And especially when he was
so cool.
When he was throwing it in AEW, he was murdering people with it.
Yes.
Or it looked like, obviously, it looked like he was. But
right. Yeah, it was like the one that always stands out for me in AEW. You remember when they did that like 12, 14-man tag, or whatever it was, with all of the Dark Order, and he was so great in that match as the leader. Like, it really felt like he had the whole thing in the palm of his hand.
Was that the pay-per-view match with Cardona on the other side?
It was a TV. I remember the one you were talking about. It was the one at All Out, right? There was a TV where it was legit like 12, 14 men. It was wild, man. It was the one with the finish with Hangman was in the finish.
Okay.
I'll try and I'll tweet about it at some point. Yeah, I remember it being great. That was when they were doing the story of like them trying to get Hangman to join. Obviously, which eventually led to where we're at now in a whole of a time. But looks like a big dive here coming up.
Yeah, I can't wait till they get their stuff on a library of some sort, because there's stuff I want to revisit that
Right, it's wild you guys can't do that, man. That's like on the Fight TV thing. That's the Dynamites are there. When I tweeted about it, people were asking me, and I was like, I just didn't realize that's not even an option. It's crazy.
No,
Seems outdated, right? Seems silly.
It does. Like, especially because like, and it's not even. It'd be like the pay-per-views, especially like. If they are making DVDs, they're not promoting them. Like,
right.
So
yeah, the DVDs they're out there. They're very expensive.
Right.
And there's no Blu-rays, which I find to be interesting.
How do you not do Blu-ray and like?
Right. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. That feels like a whole miss on their part, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't understand that, but maybe someday. Hopefully soon.
It could be real soon, I think, right? I wouldn't be
so.
surprised if that was the announcement that was alluded to be honest with you. Sank with a streaming service. Wouldn't surprise me, so we'll see.
Scoop slam on the outside there.
That looked like a struggle, didn't it?
He didn't get it. Usually Randy gets guys up pretty good for that, and that one did not look like it was so easy for Mr. Orton.
He's got to be one of the great like power slam guys, right? Randy. He's got to be up there in terms of the snap.
That scoop slam on the rebound that he does is one of a handful of moves of his that it just looks so pristine every time.
There's an effortless sense to it, right? There's this idea that his timing is so good, he can just be boom, there it is. Dustin Rhodes has a good one of those too, and he's very similar in that he's very like smooth, right? It always feels natural to him.
Yes.
Now this is speaking of moves that Randy does great. If the superplex is coming,
well, that's
then
genetic,
that's one of
them.
Yeah, man. That's one where it's like people do so much cool stuff now. You forget how beautiful that move can look, right? In the right hands.
Yes.
Special move.
Here we go, all the way to the top too.
Bam. It's the way that like when he does it,
And
his
again,
right arm only. That's perfect, man. It's great.
Again, the sell by Harper.
Oh
is
yeah,
just fantastic.
yeah. The eyes, man. It's great. When Randy does the superplex, he does that deal where he only uses his right arm like the last second, right? So it looks so easy for him when he goes up. Never looks like he's struggling. That's a slow-mo. That move always looks amazing, right? Wow. Yeah. It's interesting rewatching this because I didn't check the runtime because I wanted to just kind of experience it like this again, and I couldn't figure out if I remember the final stretch of this match pretty well. The pacing of the rest of it was kind of a distant memory, and watching it back, it's very much a Randy Orton match, and he just kind of plugs Harper in, and Harper's so great that it's easy to do that. But it's interesting to kind of remember how much Randy dictates the match.
Yeah.
Here we go. Just getting some more of those uppercuts there from.
Going for try for the RKO.
He's great at that tease, right?
Full Nelson.
He's really interesting. That's something I don't remember him doing.
No.
I don't think I've ever seen him do that other than then. So that's interesting.
Wait, wasn't that his finish?
Oh, when he was way back.
Way back?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it might have been. I haven't seen Viper Randy do that much, I must say.
No.
He has his 4 or 5 moves, and that's about where he stays usually.
That's like when Austin would throw out a $1 million dream every now and again.
Yes, and they would do the Brett finish all over again, right? They'd always have Rock tease it, and it's good stuff. And Jim Ross would reference it the exact same way every single time.
Shades of the Ringmaster.
Yeah. There you go. DDT there.
Yes.
That's a great example again of what a simple move that Randy's got over as his own thing, right? Someone does that DDT, you immediately think Randy Orton. You just do. That's his thing now. It's just a rope hung DDT, but in his hands, again, it's his own signature. Which is fitting when you consider his finish is a car, Yeah. Which is forever the RKO now.
The first time I remember seeing him do it was against, and it was on the top rope. It was against RVD on a Raw in 04, late 03, 04, somewhere in there. For the Intercontinental title. And he, like I said, RVD, his feet were on the top rope, and I'm like, holy crap. Yeah.
He always used to take those crazy head bumps, RVD, right? Did you see there on the feed to the super kick, Randy did this thing that he's one of the only guys I've ever seen do this, and I don't know how or why he does it. But when he's doing the stagger cell, he'll stand on the outside of his foot almost. Yeah, and that is it's such a subtle thing, but you definitely notice it subconsciously the way his balance goes, man. It's a really cool thing he does. Yes. Look at that cell. That's great. Awesome.
No, Harper's getting fired up.
I have it pretty low, the audio, but it looks like they've got the people. Initially, they were sitting there. Yeah. It was, because lest we forget, Harper's pretty. He's kind of new to the audience as a singles guy. He did the stuff with Dolph a couple of years earlier. It was very short-lived as IC champ. So yeah, it's always a challenge to convince the people.
That stuff was great too.
Oh yeah, man. Whenever they gave him something, he nailed it. Yeah. Went back to the RKO tease there a second ago. Oh my god.
Oh, got a 2 count on the powerbomb. It's crazy to think that a year after this, they're the Bludgeon Brothers.
Yeah, that stuff never. I didn't watch all that stuff closely. From my perspective, that felt like a case of them limiting him. In ring, he didn't do any of the cool stuff. It felt like he was just a bruiser, which is, very WWE. I get it.
Well, I don't know. I just never got the idea of repackaging them, but still
being a team.
Well, and still calling them Harper and Rowan. If you're gonna repackage them, repackage them.
Yeah, I don't know. This true. I was there at the WrestleMania when they slaughtered New Day and Usos, and it's what's the real upside to this? You're gonna sell a lot of hammers and stuff. I don't know, man. What's the whenever they do strong booking for guys, I always just think well, what's the play here? Yeah, because you just killed 2 babyface tag teams for a heel team, but for what? Yeah, they obviously didn't have an answer in the end. But no. One of them got hurt though. Maybe was what ended the run.
Rowan got hurt at SummerSlam.
I think so.
Because
Yeah.
the SmackDown after SummerSlam, they dropped the titles to New
yes.
Day, I believe.
Like a street fight deal, I want to say.
Yes.
I think it was.
Yeah. Yep.
This is great. The timing of these
uppercuts.
back and forths are great, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
They're giving the people just enough time to kind of take each one in, you know? Yeah, those uppercuts, and they're beautiful, man.
Open palm strike to the
yes.
top of Randy's dome. Oh,
it was an overhand, right? It was yeah, there you go. That is one of the coolest ways I think he did it. The push off.
Mm-hmm.
But my favorite part of all of that finish will always be the way that the Harper took the RKO and did the like bounce bump. I always love when guys do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's, you know, rewatching it, and I'm intrigued on your thoughts, Chris, but it's a good match. I think I remembered it kind of being more epic, but I think that speaks a little bit to how special that moment was for Harper as a fan. Because it felt like he had come a long way in that match, right?
That was an awesome finish. You know, Harper's trying for the discus clothesline, and Randy just blocks it and hits him with an RKO.
Oh, I'd forgotten this was the time where they like to just show individual fans' reactions to stuff. I forgot that was that was a good little trend. Do they still do that as consistently? I don't know.
I don't watch the TV as like I don't hardly watch TV at all anymore.
Yeah, lucky us.
Yeah, it's just it's so rough, and it's because you know you just kind of know what you're gonna get, and it's like okay.
Yeah, this is I don't want to derail our show here, but it's sad that I think you and I, who actually got quite a lot of enjoyment out of this stuff, get very little out of today's, because I think there are some people that genuinely, I think we both know this, will never be happy. I think both of us are pretty content with just this stuff, and this was just fine WWE,
like I was like, it wasn't great, but it wasn't
right,
absolutely terrible either. You know, it was still, there was some there hope, maybe. I don't know what the right word was.
I think that's it. No, I think that's the word.
You know, it was like, okay, well, regardless of, if I'm not crazy about the main event scene or whatnot, at least the undercard is going to be pretty good. But
yeah, I think
now it's
also
just like top to bottom. It's just like, it's just so
it's like dry too. There's nothing exciting or interesting, right?
Unimaginative.
Yes, there you go.
That was, I mean, that was my thing. I've started gradually dipping my toe into talking about current stuff here on the channel, and I did my first one was right after the Rumble, and that was like the word that it was just so unimaginative. The whole night was just so cookie cutter, like just the most basic stuff that you would expect them to do, they did. And it was just, just like, man, like have some.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a shame. I think
it is.
I think people sometimes think that when we criticize or we critique, that we're relishing it, and it's like, man, I would love for that stuff to be just vaguely interesting.
No, like I it's funny. I listen to your guys' show, and I'm kind of like, and I hear like I can't be like shoot and be like I'm just done. Like Like I know, like I want them to be better, because I want, like I've loved the WWE since I was 4 years old. Like like I want them to pull up and get them out of this hole that they're in, but it's just like they just keep digging themselves deeper and deeper and deeper.
I'm the same, man. So, I don't know if it was we definitely talked about it a little bit on the air, but Oracle and I had a very long conversation. It was one night. It was the night when they did the Easter egg thing. The egg on it wasn't Easter, it was November. They did the egg, and I had a conversation and I was just like, this is like, I'd like it to even be like camp silly fun. This is just boring, and it's a shame. But anyway, that's another podcast for another day. If you need me for that, I'll be there for it. But that match was a lot of fun. That time was a lot of fun. I may do a rewatch of that stuff one day, because it was definitely. Hope is a good word for it, Chris. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't spectacular. There was a sense of life.
There was enough there where,
yes,
because I was, I would go over every month for these shows, to Matt's house to watch them, and he's always been more negative than I am, And like I was always be, he'd be like, well, always be so and I'd always be like, well, yeah, but at least there's this, or at least this is good, but and and I think that's why like I'm finally to that point where like I can't even do that anymore. Yeah, this if you look at the old cage match, it got a 7.33 on Cage Match right now.
That's about right.
And 3 3/4 stars from old Dave. So
I'd say that's about the right range, right?
Yeah,
a good match. I think we all agree and know they could have had a better match in a different world where things were different and they were presented equally. Mm-hmm. But on that night, I remember it being a talking point that, man, Harper's arrived. And unfortunately, it wasn't to be, but it was a hell of a match. And I think a great reminder of what Randy's capable of when he's switched on and he's ready to do some work, right? He can be great when he wants to be.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Joe. I mean, look, if you're watching this and you're not signed up for Late Night Grin, like, what are you doing? But, Joe, go ahead and tell the people about what you got going over at Late Night Grin.
I appreciate it, man. So, latenightgrin.com, there is a whole lot of, I'm just going to say content and let people decide whether, because saying good feels like it's daring.
A lot of it's really good, though.
I appreciate that. There's a lot going on there, but the big thing now is that if you go to your YouTube gimmick or whatever, on your TV, on your phone, on your laptop, or whatever, you type in Late Night Grin, we have an actual channel now, right? And, for a long time, that channel just had like some generic name that like Jeremy made up on the day that we started doing stuff. And it was a gamble going with the Late Night Grin stuff, but I have to say the response has been insane. It's been crazy. So if you go over there and just like, there's a whole lot of different stuff. So if you're interested in old wrestling, we have a show for that. If you're interested in WWE, there's a show for that. Allegedly, that may still be existing by the time you watch this. I don't know yet. I may have cancelled it. There's a show that, sometimes we cover TNA or Impact, Ring of Honor, and of course AEW, which carries the views, is fair. Man, there's a lot there. Late Night Grin on YouTube, latenightgrin.com for the Patreon. But thanks for having me on, man. I'm always happy to do this stuff. I said it before, like, it's always been fun when I come on, and that was nice watching a match I remembered fondly. So thank you.
No, thank you, man. I love. I don't get to everything that you guys put out, but what I, especially because I'm it's just easier for me to take things in via audio. So whatever you put up on the podcast feeds, I'm into. I'm loving the Historical Oracle. I did something similar myself, but I didn't start as early as Oracle did. I started it in like May of '96. When Scott Hall appears, I think that's when I started. And I was only watching the big two. I wasn't even doing any of the ECW stuff. But I'm really enjoying that. The flagship show on Friday nights is just a hoot. It's
something, man. It's something. The Historical Oracle is great. It's like, that's my easiest show every week because he just sends me like a format and I order it and I'm like, go, man, go talk about this stuff. But it's a lot of fun. It's an interesting team of people there. As sure as you're aware, obviously, you can confirm there's some characters over there on the Late Night Grin, Chris. Yes. So it's a lot of fun. Thank you, man. Thanks for having me on.
No, of course. Thanks for coming on. You can find Joe at Joe Hulbert on Twitter. You can find me at Ibanez Chris. I'm also you can, if you're still using Facebook, facebook.com/Music and Moonsaults. I'm also on podcast platforms all over. Please leave a thumbs up on the video and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. That would be greatly appreciated. Until next time, guys. See ya.